Here, you're ready for your dose of reality. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Quack podcast. Another thrilling episode here. I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. And the reason that it's thrilling is this is my contribution to the Dr. Quack podcast. This is going to take us to the moon.
The moon, Alice.
Yeah, I'm about to put you to the moon. You couldn't even dress properly.
You like this?
You know, put the leather jacket on because this is going to be a battle for toughness. And you, the fans, are going to be voting on this. This is the champion that never was tournament.
Yes, this is what we're at, the 128. Got a lot of competitors in this.
We took 128. We put it out to you, the fans, and you gave us some suggestions. So we have a list of the top 128 people never to hold a world title as recognized as a world title by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. We've broken it down into 4 brackets. So we've got 32 people in bracket A. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Next Monday, we're going to come out with bracket B, then the Monday after bracket C, and so on, so on. Voting will start the day after, so it's going to start Tuesday in the morning. I think you set it up for 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, set it up for 9.
9 o'clock Central Time. You have 1 week to make your vote. And what we ask is, you can use any criteria you want when you determine the winner or who you think would be the winner. But we ask you to do it as they're all in their primes and it's no league specific. So there's no WWE, WWF advantage or NWA advantage. This is if it happened on the moon.
Yep.
Going back to the moon reference, where we're taking our fans to the moon.
So what do you got there for us? Who are the matchups here? I'm interested. I've seen some of the names and I was really excited on this.
So we put this thing into a tournament randomizer. So all these matches were booked at random. There was no trying to steer it so that we have one person specifically winning because, well, we may vote on it. You, the fans, far outweigh what our one vote each will matter. So please, your vote matters in this tournament.
Yeah, your vote counts. Make sure you go out there and vote.
So our very first match, we have Dr. Death Steve Williams taking on Pat Tanaka.
That is definitely going to be a classic there. I mean,
Dr. Death, with all his time in Japan, his time as part of the Varsity Club, he was in WWF for a while, and then Pat Tanaka, a tag team wrestler, made his name in the AWA as part of Bad Company. Very talented tag team. He spent some time as a tag team champion in the WWF. This is going to be a tough match. We're curious to see who you guys think would win.
Yeah, make sure you vote on that. Who else you got here?
The next matchup, Ken Shamrock against Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Ooh, you're talking about UFC champion, former UFC champion Ken Shamrock against Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
And for those of you that may be wondering, Ken Shamrock did hold the NWA title, but according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated, it was at a time when it was not recognized as a world title. So Ken Shamrock was able to make it into this tournament against a man who's been a perennial was a perennial for many, many years in the 70s and 80s, always being right around the title picture, Superfly Jimmy Snuka. So this one ought to be really, really interesting. The matchup, the styles of two guys who were really tough in real life.
Yeah,
getting it on in the ring.
Superfly was very unorthodox, so you never knew what to expect.
Exactly, and this one's one that I'm really curious to see what the fans are going to say. So, coming up with the next match, we have the Greg the Hammer Valentine and Hardcore Holly.
Ooh, now you're talking about two rough and tough individuals.
Two rough and tough, yes, and they were known for no nonsense in the ring. Hardcore Holly did have a little bit of a reputation as a bully, but usually it was because somebody else was trying to do things they shouldn't have been doing or trying to hurt him, and he just hurt him back.
Yeah.
And Greg Valentine, one of the toughest, double tough men he still wrestles semi-independently today. He's in his 70s.
Yeah, he still could whoop your ass, definitely.
Definitely. So the next match we have, Rikishi against George the Animal Steel.
See, I love this matchup, you know, because George Animal Steel, like I said, Mr. Unpredictable there pretty much. He just does not, you know, going against the big man, 400-plus pound Rikishi.
Who could move like a 200-pound man.
Yes.
He did have some great movement. George Steele with that flying hammerlock that was his finishing move. He may not be able to use it here, but you tell us who you think would be the outcome of this winner, because this is another one. This would be really interesting to see what the fans think on this match.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up next, this is one that is actually kind of a sleeper match in my opinion, but it will really be, I think it'll be really good. Arn Anderson against Jay Lethal.
See, there you go. Old school versus new school there.
Yes, and you can, whether you use Jay Lethal or his, when he bought the Macho Man gimmick and was performing as the Macho Man, whatever you choose to use, just make sure you think it's the best version of Jay Lethal against the best version of Arn Anderson. And Arn Anderson, always around the heavyweight title picture, never really got to hold it, but multiple-time television champion, basically was the last person to really give any relevance to the world television title.
Yeah, and the best spine buster in the business for sure.
The inventor and still the best.
Yeah.
All right, so next up we've got gorgeous Jimmy Garvin against Mr. Unpredictable Dick Slater.
Yeah, this is another contrast to style. You're talking about speed versus power here.
Yes, Dick Slater, he gained the Mr. Unpredictable nickname, honestly. There were times he went in the match that he doesn't even remember what he did. Jimmy Garvin, well, he was kind of a flashy style wrestler. He could go. His matches that he had in World Class with David Von Erich, his time with the Freebirds, this is going to be a really, really interesting call. And again, fans, I don't want to say it often enough. Your vote matters. We want to know what you think. We actually care about what your vote is.
Yeah, we want to crown the champion that never was. We really do. Who's up next?
Next, this one sounds kind of strange on paper, but I think I'd like to see it. Coco Beware against Eugene Nick Dinsmore.
Whew. I mean, Eugene was kind of a technician, man. I mean,
yeah,
it's savant there.
Yeah, the Eugene gimmick, while it was not really well received by World Wrestling Federation or World Wrestling Entertainment, Nick Dinsmore, watch his time in OVW or down in Florida. Nick Dinsmore, he was a mat fool. He was like a Dean Malenko kind of guy. He could just about tie you in knots. And Coco Beware, a Hall of Famer. We got a WWE Hall of Famer going in here against Nick Dinsmore.
Yeah, I mean, Coco was a high flyer. He always had that one hand tape there trying to be like Michael Jackson. I remember Jesse always saying
Yep, but it's really interesting. I'd like to see what you fans think about this one. And speaking of what you were talking about here, the next one up, the JYD, another guy who liked to use a tape fist a lot, against Ken Patera, the strong man, the Olympian.
Oh, yeah, I mean, two old school wrestlers there. I mean, the fans loved JYD.
Immensely loved JYD. And Ken Patera was a double tough guy, used the swinging full Nelson, actually hurt a few people on accident with the swinging full Nelson. So, you know, two power guys, two strong, old school type wrestlers that will just beat you into the mat.
Yes.
So, there you go. For those of you, we might have some new people on here that are not familiar with some of these names. Do a little history. Look up some of these people. We don't want to talk about some of the later stuff that you guys might have remembered. Look at some of the old matches. YouTube is going to be your friend on this tournament. Look some of these guys up and make your honest prediction. Kind of understand the embodiment of their work, what they stood for.
Learn your history.
Yeah, for a lot of you people may not know, Ken Patera was a former Intercontinental Champion.
He was.
So we're not throwing names in here of guys that were not up to snuff. These are all 128 we thought were the best examples of people never to hold a title. And this is definitely a prime example.
No ham and eggers.
No ham and eggers. And speaking of that, the next match, Rick Rude and Marty Jannetty.
Oh, yeah.
Now, don't sleep on Marty Jannetty. He was a former Intercontinental Champion, and despite the fact that he had a lot of demons that cost him his wrestling career, watch old Rockers matches from the AWA when he was the Midnight Rockers. You're going to see a different side of Marty Jannetty.
Oh yeah, but you're talking about Rick Rude there. I mean, dude, man was a former Intercontinental Champion. He pinned the Warrior, you know.
He pinned the Warrior and that
For that belt.
international world heavyweight title, which, by the way, was not recognized by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. That's how Rick Rude made his way into this tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely physically cut. I mean, this is gonna be a good matchup.
So it will be a good match. Like I said, don't sleep on Marty Jannetty and just think that he's the forgotten rocker that got thrown through a glass window. Watch the old AWA Midnight Rockers. Marty Jannetty could go.
That's right.
So next up, we've got another really interesting styles. IRS, Mike Rotunda against the Masked Superstar. Now, the Masked Superstar in this case is Don Jardine.
Yeah, I mean, if you like I said, if you don't know a lot about this man, make sure you study it. I mean, Mike Rotunda definitely was an accomplished wrestler.
Very accomplished.
I mean, on the collegiate level, on the professional level.
Even his time, again, going back to Dr. Death in the Varsity Club. Check out some of the old Varsity Club. Rick Steiner and Mike Rotunda and Dr. Death. They were all former wrestling collegiate. And Kevin Sullivan was the leader. And Kevin Sullivan was actually an accomplished amateur wrestler as well. So that's going to be another really interesting conflicts of styles. Speaking of that, we're going to have Albert or A-Train against main event Chuck Palumbo.
Oh boy. I mean, now these guys right there around that late Attitude Era into the Aggression Era, Ruthless Aggression. This would be, I think this may have happened. I don't know. I've never really seen this match happen. You?
I don't remember it because when Chuck Palumbo came in, he really went right away into the Chuck and Billy tag team. So, like I said, don't look at just things you might remember. Go ahead and look up some of their older stuff. Main event Chuck Palumbo doing his stuff, getting ready for feuds with Lex Luger towards the end of the WCW years.
Don't forget Tensai over there with Albert.
Very true, very true.
I mean, his Japanese background is definitely strong.
This match, this one made me just, I wish it would have happened in real life. I don't think it ever happened. Rowdy Piper against Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, speaking of Kevin Sullivan, he was 5 feet of fury, though, man. That guy was dangerous.
And these two guys, intensity personified. They may not have been pro wrestling, they may not have been the most technically gifted people, but they didn't need to be. Their intensity brought it all.
Yeah, then you had Hot Rod, WWE Hall of Famer, won the Intercontinental title, tag team titles he won.
Yeah.
You know, real late in his career with Flair.
Yep. So that match, that's going to be one of the highlights, I think, of this bracket A is Roddy Piper and Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, definitely a top notch match.
So going next into this one might be another one people might sleep on, but don't sleep on it. Cowboy Bob Orton against Demolition Smash, a.k.a. Barry Darsow.
Ooh, God. I mean, yeah. Now, is this Cowboy Bob with or without the cast?
However you choose to look at it. But that's why I bring up Barry Darsow. He was known for years as Demolition Smash in the WWF. Before that, he was part of the Russian team known as Crusher Khrushchev.
Yes.
And his stuff he did afterwards. Some of the sillier stuff he did, the Repo Man, the Blacktop Bully. But
we covered him on the Starcade episodes.
Yes, but you never doubted Barry Darsow's ability to go in the ring. And Cowboy Bob, he lasted for a long time being that guy you could always count on.
Oh, yeah.
If you needed someone to be a hand in the ring, Cowboy Bob. So that's going to be a really interesting match.
The big man with the superplex. That was, I think, the first ones to do it, right?
He was one of the first. I don't think he was the first, but he made it a big known. Him and Barry Windham were the two guys that really made it known. But I don't believe they were the first.
Right.
All right, the next one. This match made me laugh a little bit because of thinking about it. Sugar Shane Helms against the Honky Tonk Man.
Wow. See, that's a true contrast of styles there. The Hurricane.
But he also, in WCW, is Shane Helms, a former Cruiserweight champion, a former tag team champion. Yeah. So don't sleep on Shane Helms. But Honky Tonk Man, he was another one that was not very technically gifted, but he just had that knack and people wanted to see him.
The greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Yes.
As he likes to tell it.
And I agree with that statement.
I definitely do. One of my favorites of all time.
All right, this next match is a interesting match. We've got Maniac Buzz Sawyer and Screamin' Norman Smiley.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, this
It
looks-
doesn't look very good on paper, but Buzz Sawyer, for those of you guys, because he passed away in the early 90s, mid 90s.
Yes.
He was double tough, rugged, kind of that old NWA brass knuckles kind of wrestler along the lines of Manny Fernandez, Abdullah the Butcher. He was that kind of guy. And if you can find it, there's a few versions of it on YouTube. Watch the last Battle of Atlanta. It's a cage match between Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich. It was to end a 1.5-year long feud. That thing is intense.
Oh yeah.
And while Norman Smiley was a joke in WCW, he was screaming Norman Smiley.
Hardcore champion.
He was a hardcore champion, but he's down there turning arms at the NXT training center. So Norman Smiley can definitely turn some heads. He was a UFC fighter in England before he came over here.
Right, he was even in the Pat O'Connor tournament, I believe.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
So don't sleep on Norman Smiley if all you remember from him is sleeping Norman or screaming Norman Smiley.
Yeah, it should be a good matchup. So what else
All
we
right,
got
and
here?
then we've got the last match coming in to end out round one. We've got Ahmed Johnson and Jerry Briscoe.
Wow.
Now, for those of you that don't think of the stooge Gerald Briscoe, I'm talking about Jerry Briscoe. We covered Jack and Jerry Briscoe when we covered one of our Starcade reviews as a tag team. Jack Briscoe held the NWA World title, but his brother Jerry did not. So watch our review, watch the match of Jerry Briscoe, and catch some of his old stuff from the 70s in the NWA. Jerry Briscoe, 4-time All-American wrestler from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He's no man to be taken lightly.
And believe it or not, you can find all this on the network. If you just go down and look at Mid-Atlantic, it's all over there in the territories section. I've actually watched some of this recently. I was very impressed, by the old school contrast. But Ahmed Johnson, big muscle man himself, was Intercontinental Champion. He was a guy that just didn't, take everything from somebody. He would come out and beat people up.
He was definitely rough and double tough. And since we actually know the man, he spent some time in the Army in the field artillery, so he brings that to all of that intensity with him when he would enter into the ring. So, we got two guys that are all about intensity. Let's see what you think. Was it the strength or was it the wrestling technician?
Yeah, make sure you guys go out and vote on this because next Tuesday will be Bracket B. You will see another video here next Monday coming out. We're going to do all the brackets just like such to preview. But Tuesday, that's game day there for this.
That's going to be interesting. Remember, 9 o'clock Central Time is when it starts. It's going to be on the Champion That Never Was group page. Those are going to be coming out as a survey where you can make your vote and make it count. Tell us who it is.
And I'm going to put a link in the bottom of this video. If you're not a member of this group, want to be a member, all you got to do is click on it. I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm the guy that invented this, the important one, Mr. Mayhem, telling you, vote. Tell us who it is. Tell us who should have been a world champion that never was.
And I'm out.